Top of the agenda, well, it's the Brisbane Lions, a club restored in terms of esteem and absolutely in terms of the collective affection. So much has been done to create this moment, and two of the men who have led the way, Chris Fagan and Dayne Zorko, have their team on the brink of finals, embracing both the excitement and the possibilities.
The Adelaide Crows, they thrashed the Brisbane Lions by 138 points.
There were boys playing men tonight.
How tough is this to take for this young Brisbane Lions side?
Hipwood almost with the one hand, able to fend off Hartley. Left foot kick, close, goal! Oh, they're pumped now, the Lions. How sweet the taste of victory for Chris Fagan. The heart of these Lions, bottom of the ladder, but wins like that can take you a long way.
It's been a fantastic meteoric rise, and it just goes to show you get the right people in the right places, you get some great people into your footy club, it can be a pretty sharp rise.
Rayner has been superb, and his day and his play is only getting better. The day the Brisbane Lions came of age on a venue that has been almost impossible to penetrate. They are well and truly on their way, and the future is so exciting for the Lions.
I think they're playing with such a boldness, they're playing such a great brand of footy. I'm thrilled to be able to witness it.
You better start believing in Brisbane. A remarkable win against the Cats.
I do think they can go deep into September.
The journey of the Lions, as narrated by Simon Black, and it leads back to the Gabba on Saturday night for a qualifying final. It'll be Brisbane and Richmond. The Lions hierarchy is assembled for us. The coach, Chris Fagan, the captain, Dayne Zorko. Gents, welcome back to AFL 360.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Dayne, give us a sense of the sense of purpose married up with the sense of excitement for this team.
Oh, very excited. It's rare that in this competition you get to play a team within 2 weeks, but we've certainly got that opportunity, and we've learned a lot over the past 10 days, and certainly feel the excitement building around Brisbane, and we're really looking forward to a new challenge. We've obviously had a very hard look at the tape against Richmond, and I guess we'll see on Saturday night whether we've learned what we've needed to. They were too good for us at the MCG, and hopefully we turn the tables with what we've learned.
The Gabba's a sellout, Chris, so everything's in order in Brisbane. Are you getting stopped in the streets much and asked about the prospects here?
Oh, a little bit more than usual. You'd be walking down the street and someone will wind their car window down and shout something out to you and all that sort of stuff. But no, there's definitely a sense of excitement around Brisbane. There's no doubt about that. I think the tickets sold out in 2 hours when they went on sale last week. So capacity crowd. Hopefully a lot more Lions than there are Tigers, and that they make a good noise for the home team.
Fags, hear me out. You played the Tigers, and you would have learned a bit about your team and a little bit about theirs. How difficult is it to continue to play the team and play the way you want to play, knowing that there's some areas that you might have to fix up? How much do you adjust? Is it large adjustments? Is it small adjustments? Or do you continue to back your team in?
Well, by and large, we back our team in. That's what you have 23 home and away rounds for, is to practice the way that you want to play in finals, and you hope that your method's going to stand up. But there are also some subtleties that you add when you play against particular sides. So, having the opportunity to play Richmond a couple of weeks ago, as Dayne said, we learned a few things. So, we hopefully defend a little bit better this weekend and also attack a little bit better. Obviously, the hunt of the balls are non-negotiable, but we just felt a few weeks ago that we didn't use the ball all that well, and we didn't defend Richmond's ability to sort of counter-attack up through the middle of the ground as well as we should have. So we've done some work on that, and as Dayne said, we'll see how much we've learned when it comes to Saturday night.
Congratulations, Captain. I thought your performance against Tigers in round 23 was fantastic. It's going to go up another level. That would probably excite you, I reckon. But do you have any fears for some of the younger blokes who haven't played finals football?
Not really, no. I think, playing Geelong 3 weeks ago, and then obviously in front of the Richmond Army last weekend. Certainly gives me a lot of confidence that the boys can certainly step up to the occasion. And, you know, clearly that first quarter is going to be extremely hot, but it's going to be the team that sort of falls into their process the quickest. And, you know, I think hopefully we can lean off the 2 experiences we've had in the past fortnight and certainly help us with that. And I thought, you know, after quarter time against Richmond 2 weeks ago, I thought we were able to settle and play the way we wanted to. But, you know, the head start against them was just too much, and good sides will do that to you. So we need to be ready to go from that first bounce, and I'm sure we've learned enough that it'll put us in a good position too.
There's so much that happens in a game of footy, Fags, that you look at that last game, and I wrote afterwards, right, what does Fagan do about Hooley and Vossen on the back flanks? Hooley's such a great rebounder for them, and Vossen's such a wonderful interceptor. When I asked you about adjustments before, do you look at those sort of players and say, right, do we have to clamp them a little bit? Do we have to be more defensive on them?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but there's also the requirement of our forwards to compete a little bit harder than they did 2 weeks ago, and they're very aware of that. They, in their own review of their own performance, they weren't happy with their level of contest that day. We allowed Richmond, I think, spare players behind the ball too easily, and you know, they were able to win that ball and rebound it out. So, you know, we've got to do something about it. It's easier said than done, but certainly there's an appetite amongst our playing group to produce a stronger effort in that regard.
This is fantastic. The mindset, clearly, Fags, listening to you and you, Captain, is it's what you guys can do. It's not how you can restrict Richmond. It's what you guys can do better, and we'll find out whether you can or not, as you said.
Yeah, I think so. You know, we believe our brand will stand up. We didn't think we executed it well enough a couple of weeks ago for a variety of reasons, and you know, we want to try and bounce back. And that's no disrespect for Richmond. You know, we obviously there's some things we need to stop that they do really well, but by and large we have confidence in ourselves.
Chris, will you need a different plan for just Dustin Martin, and do you think they will have a different plan for Lachie Neale on the evidence of what we saw?
Yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it? I mean, Richmond are full of good players, and Dustin Martin's no doubt a star of the game. But, you know, as Robbo just mentioned, there's a few other guys that are going pretty well as well. So, you've got Rewalt and Lynch up forward, and they're dangerous small forwards. You know, there's Cochin and Edwards and Prestia, who are also really capable in the midfield. And sometimes I think when you go after one, you forget others, and they can do a little bit of damage. So for us, you know, we're pretty much a system-based team, and for us to move away from our system would be a big move. So I think we'll tend to back in the way we want to go about things and see how that turns out.
Simon Black mentioned yesterday that he had the opportunity to come in and speak to the players. Have you made an effort to connect the current team to its forefathers, to the last successful era of the Lions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important that we draw on some of their experiences. The age demographic of their side is very similar to what ours is, and it'd be foolish for us not to tap into those resources. They were obviously fortunate enough to experience 4 or 5 times in their careers a finals campaign. So it was great that himself and Clark Heading were able to come in and share some stories with us. And you know, the boys had their ears on. They were listening and absorbing it all. And you know, the key message that we got was just stick to your process, stick to what we've done for the past 23 weeks. You know, and everyone play their role.
So you know these stories from the past, Dayne. How much are you craving taking your turn, having your clutch at history, as it were?
Yeah, it's obviously an exciting time, not only for me, but for the whole football club. We haven't played finals for 10 years, so it's great that we've certainly put ourselves in a position that we get 2 opportunities at it. You know, and it's, as you said, we can feel the buzz around the place. It's really exciting, but it's up to us to create our own legacy now. We can, you know, they were able to do it in the early 2000s, but we want to leave our own stamp on the Brisbane Lions Football Club.
There's so much to talk about, Fags. I could mention 20 matchups, right? And we could talk for an hour on each matchup and what the impact it may have on the game from their forwards, and what are you going to do with Mark Adams, and we saw what happened with Jack Reeve. But from your point of view, we've discussed it a couple of times this week, which was Dylan Grimes on Charlie Cameron. And Dylan Grimes was a great player. And Charlie Cameron is a great player. Yeah. Was there any stress about Grimes' tactics at all, or is that just part of footy and Charlie, you've got to work your way through it?
Yeah, I think it's more that, it's part of footy and you've got to work your way through it. We sort of talked to the umpiring department post that game, like we always do, about a number of decisions that were made for and against us in that game, because we sort of do that as part of our learning. And some of the Charlie and Dylan Grimes sort of contests were shown. We're happy with the feedback that we got. And we understand that those one-on-one contests are very, very difficult to umpire, especially in high-pressure games. So no dramas with that. So we've been working really hard with Charlie over the last couple of weeks just for him to have a few more strategies up his sleeve when Dylan tries to apply his methods. So hopefully what we'll see this week is an improvement from Charlie, but we must understand it's not the Charlie Cameron Footy Club. We've got a forward line full of guys that can kick goals, and we can't just be relying on him. So our midfielders and our forwards need to get involved, and that's what we're looking for on Saturday night.
Just this last one on Charlie. I know you don't want to keep talking about him. So when you spoke to the umpires department, they allayed your frustrations? You walked away thinking, OK?
No, well, there was a couple of instances on there that we put on, but that was in amongst 10 or 12 other things, and a couple of those were just learning for our guys about where they can stand on the mark in regards to shots and goal and things like that. So, no, I was happy enough with their response. I think umpiring's an incredibly difficult job. The speed of the game, and I even appreciate that more, having sat down on the bench this year, just how quick and fast it is. So, I was just thought we just, raise the question and it's up to them whether they do anything about it or not.
Up the other end, and it's been widely spoken about, Adams on Jack Reeve. He got him on the lead. I thought the midfield didn't put a lot of pressure on the Richmond midfield, which allows some pretty easy balls to go in. When you took Adams off, what sort of character is he? Do you have to pick him back up on the next day, coach and captain as the captain of the team? He's the kind of guy who needs to be picked back up and get his confidence back up and set him going, or he can do that himself?
No, I thought he bounced pretty well on the game and we made the move. I mean, to a degree, when you look at the replay again, you go, gee, 2 or 3 of those, no one could stop. The ball got through the middle of the ground too easily. Yeah. So in his defence, it was a difficult task. We thought we'd try something. We moved Darcy onto Jack, and then Marcus played another role, but I thought he played that role pretty well, and I thought he adjusted mentally really quickly from the situation and didn't let him get it down. Didn't let that get him down, which is a really important part of finals footy. Not everything goes your way all the time, but you just got to keep upbeat and positive, and when your moment comes, be ready to take it.
Dayne,
touching on that, I just think I was just going to say the backline is such a tight knit group that. They got around Marcus as much as possible, and what Fag said is some of those you couldn't really stop. So a lot of that blame's probably got to fall back on the midfield group. So Marcus is a very upbeat character. He's been fantastic since he's got to the club. He walks around with a smile on his face all the time. So I don't think that would have worried him too much.
Righto, Fags, are you prepared to tell us? Are you going to start Marcus Adams on Jack Reeve?
Sort of leave that one up in the air, Robbo. Still 4 days before the game. It's too early to make the call.
There's got to be some mysteries. There's got to be some mysteries. Hey, thanks for your time as ever, and the very best of luck for what happens on Saturday night and beyond.
Yep, thanks. Pleasure to chat to you blokes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fagan, mate. And Dayne Zorko with us in Brisbane.
Very expansive. Yeah, they're great. They're a great football club.